Now, the rest of the story.
All right, welcome back. I've been asked, and people are really just wondering, I've actually had a couple offers, wondering why we don't run a 12-row cultivator, or if we would update to a 12-row cultivator as opposed to running just a 6-row. Well, first and foremost, I think a 12-row on the back of the 4020 would be asking just a little much out of this machine. I would have to do like another set of tanks on it because I'd be spending all my time running back and forth to the tender. I can do about 40 acres a day with this tractor and this setup, but the problem is with both these tanks full and the 6-row, that front end of the 4020 gets awfully light just set up like this. And also, a 12-row in our part of the world, well, even on our acres alone, we have, I'd say, maybe 100. You can be generous and say maybe 150 acres where you could justify, or I won't say justify, to utilize a 12-row cultivator in its peak efficiency, or just really the way it really should be used. Because the thing is with the 12-row, a machine like that, for how wide it is and how you really just need to be able to keep it in the row, those really shine in flat, square, huge cornfields or cotton fields or bean fields, wherever you're using them in, where you can't really see the other end of the field, so you can just drop it and drive. The problem we have with the amount of curves and turns and all that on all of our ground, we tend to take out a lot of corn. Well, you don't try to. We tend to take out a lot of corn with just this setup because it doesn't take very much to get off of the row where you need to be. And you take your eyes off of what you're doing between driving and looking behind you for a split second, and you start taking out all 6 rows. That starts to add up quite a bit when you start doing that over a whole field or a whole farm. And imagine trying to do that with a 12-row on even some of our strips. It's just trying to imagine how much corn we would take out doing that. It's just kind of hard to fathom. A lot more than we would prefer. I don't like taking out the amount of corn that we take out with this setup, because when you're going through, and even some of the simple turns that we have, the front tires in the 4020 are literally right up against the row of corn next to it, and what usually ends up taking you out is the rear tires in the 4020, just because I can't keep everything in the row. What I tend to do is I quit trying. I don't like to think myself being a quitter, but what I actually do is I pick the cultivator up out of the ground and then I make my turn. But what I do is I leave the fertilizer running and I still put the product down next to the plant or in the rows to at least make sure that it's getting some benefit from running through and side dressing like we do. And if you guys are wondering, I get questions all the time, and it's different people every time, but I'm sure I'll be asked again. This is the pump that I have on this cultivator. It's a Delavan, D-E-L-A-V-A-N pump. It's a power flow. It's 5 gallons per minute, and that's the model number for anybody that's wondering. That's all I use to pump this product through. Works really well. I think you can get them at your local farm supply store. It's not a special pump by any means. And then for the rate controller, it is a CDS John Blue company controller. It's pretty straightforward too. This is the exact same thing we have, or controller, we have in the 4640. For the corn planter starter. So I mean, it's reliable. I mean, that it goes without saying. But we don't have a tractor. Oh, I shouldn't say it like that. We don't have a tractor set up to run a 12-row cultivator. On top of that, we could narrow up the 76 or the 4640. I mean, we could make we've actually heard that argument, that we should be putting the 46, narrowing up the tires in the 46, but to be honest with you guys, we haven't exactly been seeing a whole lot of yield drag or compaction issues from running our 4640 on the wide rows. And to be honest, we don't really want to narrow it up any more than what it already is. It's just preference, to be honest. I guess if you do a lot more corn on sod, you're planting on sod ground, you start to see a little bit of a drag there because you're starting to see the compaction, but all of our corn looks great. About 96%, 5%, looks awesome. I mean, for the spring we had and the conditions we had thrown at us, a lot of our corn is doing really well. The last planted stuff that I put in, that has some compaction issues on it, but that is due in part to the fact that I planted the headlands first, and then I went through a week later and planted the rest of the field. So there's definite compaction on the headlands. I got to go through, if I can go through and cultivate and side dress like I would like to do, but really it's just if the weather will really cooperate. It's getting to the point now on some of the ground. I would have been cultivating today, but with the rain shower that was coming at us when I got up at 6 this morning, I had every intention of going up and cultivating right away. But the farm that I need to go to next is about an hour away with the 4020. And the problem with that is I didn't want to get up there, cultivate for 4 hours, because I'm going to need probably a full day to do the whole farm, and then have to drive either back home or find some place to put the tractor in, because they're calling for rain for the next 3 days. And that rain that we're getting for the next 3 days is what's starting to concern me a little bit as to whether or not I'm going to be able to get everything cultivated. So yeah, a 12-row cultivator would allow us to cover a lot more acres a lot more efficiently, but I would like to get just another 6-row and either get another tractor that's set up for running a cultivator. We have the people, the manpower to do it. Between me, Dad, and Ryan, I'm sure we can find another one of us that is willing to run the cultivator and side dress. But what's going to happen, if anybody that's wondering at this point, what am I going to do if I cannot cultivate, or if the corn gets too tall that I cannot get it cultivated? What I will do, and it's actually what I ended up doing on the last of the stuff that I did last year, because, well, it was getting tall enough that I was just hardly hitting the ground with the back shank. So I was stirring a little bit of dirt, but all I was doing was using the cultivator as a side dressing machine, almost purely a side dressing machine. I wasn't working hardly any dirt at all, but when you leave the machine picked up, it gives you a little bit more clearance because the tractor is taller than the cultivator. And what it'll allow me to do is go in and at least get my product put down so the plants can get a little bit of a boost there. If you guys are watching my Instagram, for those of you that are watching my Instagram, have probably seen it, but I have some ground that I had already done, or the little bit of ground that I have side dressed already, where I pulled out into the neighbor's yard and I didn't shut off the fertilizer right away. And you can see the dark, deep green strips of where it was dropping the product down. So it definitely helps. It definitely helps the corn plants. That field looks really, really, really nice right now. And I guess I got it out here, but I got another bottle, or another 2-liter bottle of Mountain Dew the other day, just because I thought, what the hey. But my plan is, and I'm probably gonna include it in a video when I do it, or it'll be on Instagram, but my plan is I'm gonna dump a bottle each into each of these tanks when I go to cultivate next time, just for the kick of it. I mean, I really am not expecting to see much of a boost or anything from putting Mountain Dew in, but it's getting kind of late right now, and we're probably 2 or 3 weeks behind as far as our growth and our corn, because we actually, what are we? We are, oh, it's the 3rd week of June, the end of the 3rd week in June, And last year, we were cultivating 3 weeks ago, the first week of June. And I think we finished, and that was cutting it really close. So, yep, definitely got some Mountain Dew we're gonna throw in the tank just for giving it a little bit more of a kick. I have heard that dumping, don't know what the name of it is, but dumping sugar into a tank for the plant, even to foliar feed. Plants like sugar. We all like sugar. Most of us like sugar. Calvin looks like he could use some, but all right. That's really the long and the short of it. Well, we won't be running a 12 row anytime soon. If we move out to Iowa or Illinois and start farming down there, if you can get the lakes, drained off down there, the rain's coming again. Maybe you could see us doing running a 12 row cultivator down there, but not up here anytime soon. But with that, I think I'm gonna get home before we start getting storming again. Doesn't really amount to much, but it's cold out. So you guys are watching the rest of the story. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Take care, take it easy, keep in touch. We'll talk to you guys later.